And so now we got two fools trying to find each other.
Yeah. In the dark.
In the dark. Walking backwards.
Right.
Putting lust and sex first.
Right.
Right?
Man.
And they feel like they gonna screw their way into love. When you hear that voice speak to you and tell you to do certain things, if you hesitate, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can never go against the voice. You can never speak against the voice. You can never mimic the voice. You gotta shut your mouth and listen to the voice. And so when you listen to that voice, you understand what that voice is telling you. That voice is telling you something that was so intimate and so deep that you probably only dreamt one time, and if you don't wake up and write it down, you will forget it forever. The only way you can ever hear that voice is if you have a clear tape. You can't hear it with a full tape. Even the finest china will keep you from eating the greatest meal.
Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Warrior's Way Home podcast. I'm your boy Travis with my co-host Edmund.
What's going on, guys?
And we have a very special guest coming to you guys today. We're here in Arizona, like I said, with a very special guest, our brother, definitely a mentor for me. I'm sure Edmund feels the same way, and author of the book Man Must Be Qonquered, Mr. Brother Qonquer.
So, brother,
welcome, brother.
How you doing?
Welcome. Definitely appreciate you doing the podcast with us, man.
Hey, I humbly appreciate the offer.
You know, the knowledge that you packed in this, I think needs to be shared with as many people as possible, as many men as possible. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So that's what the goal is for this, to really get to know Qonquer, about the book, why he wrote the book, some of the things, some of the takeaways both of us have found in reading the book, and even just in our interaction here in Arizona, because we're here doing a retreat with our brothers with the Power Circle. Something we've talked about in the podcast before. It's been a very powerful weekend.
Every day since we got off the plane, we've been having nothing but powerful conversation. Man. We ran into a brother at the airport. We sat down and talked for a whole hour waiting on. You know what I mean? It was incredible.
From new brothers coming in, from Uber drivers to being at the restaurant, man. It's like when men get together in this kind of frame, man. I didn't realize how powerful this was going to be, but it's definitely been a life-changing experience. So we wanted to share just a piece of that with you guys today. So we're going to, kind of get into it and, like I said, get into the book and get to know Brother Qonquer here. So let's actually have you do your first one.
Okay, awesome. So my first question was I got a chance to read your book first, and having known you before I got a chance to read it, it just made more sense when I actually got into it, because there are some books where you feel like you get the information and it doesn't click right away. You know what I'm saying? But having spoken to you on several occasions before I even read it, it was like I was reading your thoughts, and it was easier to digest, I feel like, than if I would have never met you at all. So my first question to you is, who did you write this book for?
Honestly, gentlemen, I wrote this book for men, but I wrote it for a younger version of myself. There were things that I really needed to know. I knew a lot of those things, but I wasn't operating in them, if that makes sense. And so I wrote it to a younger version of me, whether that younger version of me is you, whether it's you, or whether it's any other man in this world. I wrote it to a younger version of myself, or I wrote it to an older version of myself, of a man who may not have found himself yet. I also wrote it as an inspiration to my grandfather, because he led me in a spiritual path. That doesn't take anything away from, my grandmother, my other women in my family. But I understand that I have to acknowledge the male role model, because we have a male presence that's missing. And because we have a male presence that's missing, that's why I came up with the title, Man Must Be Qonquered. And we have to address the male issue before we can even speak on a female issue. Right. If that makes sense.
No, that's exactly what we talk about all the time.
If we are often spoken about as the issue and as the problem, then why not talk and speak to us? And so I wrote it with the inspiration of my grandfather, but also the inspiration of God. I dedicated mostly to my daughter. And the reason I dedicated it to my daughter is because I wanted her to understand, based on conversation that we've had with each other, that there's a certain man that should fit a description that she should marry. And in order to understand that man, I encrypted things in the book, in the conversation that she and I have already shared.
Yeah.
She was the only woman that would be able to decode this book in its entirety.
She's got the Dakota ring.
Because she understands her father.
Yeah.
And I dedicated to her, even though she's on the last part of the dedication, she understands what order to read the book for her answer.
That's crazy.
And the average person wouldn't understand the work that I put into this book. If you look at the title, it's unique in nature. I would never tell anybody why I spelled Conquered the way that I did, but I'll hold on to that for a later date. If you understand that it's written volume 1, Unlocking Chambers, that means that I've written this book in a 5-point series. But this first book is definitely dedicated to my grandfather, dedicated to the inspiration of God, and more importantly, answering questions for my daughter.
Absolutely.
It's powerful.
How do men develop their conviction and discipline? Because when we speak, or when we hear you speak, there is a lot of conviction that comes with that, and you can tell that it was discipline that gave that to you. You know, how does one develop that?
Ironically, most of us as men, we learn discipline through pain.
Man. Let me move that a little closer.
Right.
we really learn discipline through pain, and we would love to go back to change the old men. Sadly, we wouldn't be the men that we are. And there's nothing that we can do in life about decisions that we made before we become the men that we're required to be. Oftentimes we beat ourselves up for decisions that we made pretending to be men. Age does not make you a man. Success does not make you a man. Money does not make you a man. Having a status of being a HVM, high value man, does not make you a man. That makes you a status symbol of a man. But what makes you a man is trying to go back and find something that was missing in you to make sure that you don't repeat the same cycles in life. And so as I embarked on this journey to make sure that I completed something within myself in manhood, I had to go back and realize all the mistakes that I made in life. That's not a confession to anything.
Right.
That's an ownership within. And when you own, because there's a lot of things that men take blame for, that's not their fault. We just take it by default. And so I realized there was a lot of things that I took by default that I probably shouldn't have. There's a lot of things in life that we as men get blamed for that we never do. And we get away with a lot of things that we've done. And so I just decided to take ownership on everything, regardless, and shift that energy into something new. And this is something that I've always had on the inside of me. I just wanted to birth it a little bit differently. The timing was perfect. The elements were perfect. I wanted to change a direction in my life and a trajectory in what I really wanted to accomplish in life. And I definitely, if I ever got married again and have more children, I wanted to leave an inheritance for my children's children. And so in order to do that, it says a good man. So I had to understand that I had to change the dynamics of what the world deemed as a good man. And that means I took the world off of me to say that I was good. I became good. And I say I'm good. I don't have to be good for everybody else. I'm good for me. And as long as I'm good for me, if you choose to attach yourself to me, then you have to accept me as my good. If not, we can part ways and be amicable and be okay. But I'm not going to let you ruin my good because I found peace with that good. And so that's what gave me the inspiration to truly write it and move forward with it. So
amazing.
Very nice.
Amazing. And we talk a lot about the nice guy. It's like, it's like the nice guy versus a good man are two very different things in this world, and a lot of people don't really understand that difference. So you should be a nice guy. No, you should be a good man.
correct.
It's like, but a good man is I completely forgot his name. It just popped my mind, but he said a good man is not a passive man.
Jordan Peterson.
A good man is a very, very dangerous man who has it under voluntary control.
Correct.
you know, and that's very different than being the nice guy.
I agree
Which
with
a lot
that.
of people are playing that role now, being the nice guy, when it's not actually who they actually want to be or who they need to be at all. You mentioned your grandfather, and a lot of the, you know, the guys we're talking to are, you know, may not have had that father figure growing up, or may not have had it that in that traditional way. You know, it's
Correct.
like we were talking in one of the other interviews about sometimes, you know, the guys don't have the father figure in the house. Sometimes the first father figure they may have had is that dope boy on the corner,
Correct.
or you know the guy with, you know, the wino on the corner, maybe the only guy that's giving that guy knowledge. You know, when he passes by every day on the way to school, you know, he just looks out for him just enough in between those sips. You know, just give him that little bit of piece of something that he wasn't getting before.
Correct.
You know, but a lot of guys have to kind of find that. You know, you mentioned your grandfather, and it sounds like he was a big part of inspiring you to become the man that you've become. And so was he like the main father figure for you as you were growing up, or how did that come to be?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question emphatically, yes. He's been that male role model. He's been that positive pillar.
Yeah.
He's been the best example of a man and male leadership that I've ever seen in my life. And to understand what that really means is that he was never a man of many words. He didn't have to speak a lot.
Right.
His actions meant more. And it was up to us to follow his actions instead of his words. And so I realized that I used a lot of words, but not his actions. And coming back to that understanding, you don't really have to say much.
Yeah.
What's for you is for you. If people understand your actions, they'll act accordingly. But if you're just talking, so will they. And so I stopped talking. I shut down and stopped talking. Because you never know whether they're listening or not.
Yeah.
But you'll know if they're listening to your actions because they'll follow suit.
True.
And so I went back to understand who he is and what he stood for as a man, what he represented to our family. And in the midst of that, I realized that I started missing some pieces of my tutelage and my teacher and my guidance and my governor, you know. And I remember the things that he did. I remember the things that he said. And I understand principles in the Bible that a lot of people don't understand. And I understand why the Bible says that a good man leaveth an inheritance for his children's children. And so I'm my grandfather's child's child. I know that I've inherited things from him. And because of that, I'm obligated to walk and operate in it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It matters what I know. So I'm not the type of person to keep thinking or feeling anything.
Yeah.
Either I know it or I don't. And if I don't know it, I'm going to go find the answer. So I speak on what I know.
Yeah.
I know that I've inherited a lot of information from him. I know that I've inherited his prayers. I know that I've inherited his strength, his demeanor, his stature, and what he stands for. And I also understand that I've inherited a promise from him. And so because I'm unwilling to forfeit that, I have a mission, and nobody will take me away from that mission. So he's been a tremendous inspiration in my life. I mean, he's on the back cover of the book. You know, I'm in his head.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a southern guy, and you know, we believe in, you know, old Christian, you know, hymnals and church songs and all that other stuff. And so there's an old song said, "My father prayed for me. He had me on his mind. He took the time to pray for me." And be honest with you, I'm so glad he did. And that's why I put him on the back of the book, with him in a position that he always prayed in, that I could remember from my youth. And then I was put into his head because I believed that he prayed for me.
So just within the first 10 minutes, we were already getting plenty of gems, man. And it's wild because like we've spoken already so much just within, even off camera, just with the Power Circle and individuals and togetherness. But man, it's like there's never enough. I'm sorry, there's never any lack for that. You know what I'm saying? There's always more to dig up, and the deeper you dig, because like I was thinking about the cover of your book the other day, and I'm just like, I wonder why he had it like that position like that, and it's like it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't something that was like pertinent at the time, but it was like when you explain it like that, it's perfect. Because my dad used to tell me like, oh, your grandma prayed for you and all that stuff. And I used to be like, oh, you just talking because that's what the ancestors do and all that stuff. And it's like, but when you explain it that way, it makes more sense as to why he tells me the things that he tells me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it is very important to have these kind of role models in your life. And when you don't have them, or when you miss them, or you miss out on what they were trying to give you, like you tell us all the time, if you listen to a man twice your age, it cuts it down by half.
Half your time.
Half your time.
It'll save you half the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Half the pain, half the headaches, half the stress.
Yeah.
Reason being is because it's not that they're trying to control your life. They're really trying to control the younger version of themselves. When men that are twice, 3 times your age are really talking to you, regardless of their tone, their attitude, and their demeanor, our initial impulse is to reject, ignore, and disagree.
Yeah.
Right.
We just want to throw it and push it aside.
Right.
But what they're really trying to do is save you from the pain and the mental anguish that they're going through. They just can't tell you because you wouldn't hear it anyway. And so that's why I wrote in the book that listen to a man twice your age will save you half the time.
Yeah.
It is such a true statement. And if we could really develop that concept in our lives, we would be better men. You know, we wouldn't be walking around battered, bruised, bitter, angry, and trying to figure this world out in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah.
If we would just hear to the instructions that some men that have fallen before, they're just simply trying to keep you from falling.
Yeah.
And I know without a shadow of a doubt that that's something that he's always taught. Again, he's not a man of words, so he's not going to say that. But I know that's what he felt.
Right.
And I know that's what he was attempting to deliver to us. So whether I caught it later in life or not, it doesn't matter. I'm grateful that I caught it while I'm still alive.
Oh, yeah.
And being that we have breath in us, every day that we have breath in us, we have an opportunity to save another young man. That's not a slight to a woman. Any man that can save another young man makes him a better man for another woman. And we have too much bitterness going back and forth. I mean, if you really read the book and understand, it has nothing to do with attacking women or disrespecting women. It's not targeting women. This is targeting men. And it's targeting men to be better men. The reason it's targeting men to be better men is because I'm a father of a daughter. And I want my daughter to be with a great man. So the first correction should be with a father. That doesn't mean that I'm a creep or I'm a bad person. I'm just not a perfect person. And I haven't been a perfect person. I've never done anything in perfection other than correcting myself. That person I'm satisfied with.
Yes. Wait. Please say that last part again.
What's that?
You said, I'm not trying to, it's not, see, I can't repeat how you said it, but it's like,
I'm not a perfect person.
Yeah.
And I'm not attempting to be a perfect person.
But the perfection comes
But
in
the
trying
perfection
to correct.
came with me trying to correct my new self from my old self. Again, most people will look at that as a confession. It's not. It's that we all get new mercies every day. And because we get new mercies every day, that means we get new breath every day. We get a new heartbeat every day, right? We get a new vision every day. We get a new focus every day. So why would I take an old focus, an old heartbeat, an old spirit, an old mind into a newness?
Right.
So I got to the point where I had to push all that stuff aside and forego people that I love dearly, people that I care for, and things that I enjoy doing. I had to take all that and push it aside, and to manifest something that was already in me. Like I've written probably since 2012, 11, 13, 14, 15, about 22 books and like 8 movies. And my goal was always to get at least, all of my books out and produce a movie. That's my goal. And nothing is going to stop that goal. Because of that, I had to clear my table. If you don't clear your table, and we have to look at a table, we have some of the finest china on tables now.
Yeah.
Nobody ever eat off of it. It's there for decoration.
It sits in the cabinet.
It's beautiful. Artwork, thousands of dollars just sitting there, right? But it's there for decoration. I've been decorated enough. I want a clean table. And that clean table, I can put on it what I want. I can eat what I want. I can dine when I want. So I had to clear my table. And once I cleared my table, then I realized how much mess I really had on it. How many valuable pieces of art that were actually worthless, including myself, including the chair at the head of the table. See, if the head is sick, the whole body is sick. So it wasn't for me to sit down and keep looking external at my table. I had to look internal at the head. And the head had to get up, move the chair, clean the table, and sit back down with a clear view. And that's what I did. And so I went back into my craftsmanship, things that I enjoyed doing. I put my head down strong, and I decided to birth something new. And in the midst of birthing something new, it's not about knowing everything. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if I gave you the whole spiel to the front part of that book, you probably wouldn't believe it, because it came the same way the back part of the book came, the back cover. When you hear that voice speak to you and tell you to do certain things, if you hesitate, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can never go against the voice. You can never speak against the voice. You can never mimic the voice. You got to shut your mouth and listen to the voice. And so when you listen to that voice, you understand what that voice is telling you. That voice is telling you something that was so intimate and so deep that you probably only dreamt one time. And if you don't wake up and write it down, you will forget it forever. The only way you can ever hear that voice is if you have a clear table. You can't hear it with a full table. Even the finest china will keep you from eating the greatest meal. And you have to eat a clean meal from a clean table. That book was placed on a clean table for everybody to eat from that book. So if you understand the way that I talk, the way that I write, the way that I articulate, the way that I understand the Messiah, the way that I understand how he is intimately entwined into our lives and how we are supposed to operate as men, I often slap myself for not going back realizing what I knew that I was gifted with as a child. Hindsight is always 2020. But at the end of the day, I can't go back and worry about what's old. I understand now. Had I written this book then, it would not have meant anything, because it would have been written with a lot of nonsense. It would have been written with a feeling, with an emotion, with a pain, with a temperament. It would not have been written with an ease. My grandfather, and I speak intimately about him, he had to quit school in the 3rd grade. So it was wise of me to not write this book with so much intellect and education to where it superseded my teacher. So
Never outshine the master.
Right.
Say that again.
Never outshine the master.
That's one of the 48 laws of power.
That's one of the first 10.
You never outshine your master. So because I'm so proud of my teacher, I wanted my teacher to be proud of me. And so he had to be able to articulate the verbiage in this book. Had I outshined him, he would never have anything to be proud of. I wrote this with an inspiration of him. So I wanted him to be able to intimately be engaged and involved in and know what his grandson, what his inheritance wrote. That makes sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's like you wrote it with a clear conscience. And to the point where it could be like, look, I got it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I got it to the point where I can give it to other people.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah.
Thank you. Your 3rd grade education was more than enough. That's what that meant to me.
And when you clear that table, you get that purest version
Absolutely.
of yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Without all the trying to make it sound good, trying to make it look good. Like you said, the china is like China is just to make things look good, but is it to make it doesn't make food taste any better.
You never eat it.
It looks great for the company that you bring in.
Decoration.
It looks great outside. It looks great when you take that Instagram picture. But if the food is shit, it doesn't matter.
And we have to understand basic concepts in life. Like it's not the outside of the cup in which you drink, it's the inside. But we're too busy looking at the outside because the outside is what everybody else sees. So we drink from dirty, messy, nasty cups. So I didn't care what anybody saw on the outside anymore. I cared about cleaning the inside of the cup. And once any man cleans that cup, Doesn't matter what they see on the outside. It matters what they drink. And so I needed to make this book palatable for anybody who would digest this and they could understand it on such a basic level that it was straight, raw, no chaser, intimate, painful, eye-opening, spiritual.
Vulnerable.
Men need to grow. Face yourself. This is where we are.
Yeah.
And if you operate outside of this, there's a detriment. If you fall into it, there's a promise. And so, in other words, it's almost like you can never rewrite the Bible.
Yeah.
But I took some of the most powerful, most intimate pieces of what I understood from my grandfather and from Scripture, and put it into a book that even if men never read the Bible, they could identify themselves with God. Short read to God, short understanding to God, short understanding of your purpose, short understanding of, okay, well, I'm not going to read through all these pages, but I understand that first I must learn my Creator. I don't know who He is. I want to move past this. Right? You go to the last chapter, it talks about your seed, right? So procreating is one of our tools as men. But what we procreate in this world can become demonic to others. And that doesn't mean just your seed is the demon.
You sip.
It doesn't mean your seed alone is the demon. Your seed could be good seed, but the ground could be horrible.
That part.
You plant your seed in the wrong ground, you could produce a demon. Again. So we have to be mindful of where we plant, because we want to make sure that we have good fruit. We're responsible for our seed. We got to look at any time we were irresponsible and what could have happened or what did happen.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. And I addressed that in that chapter. We'll discuss that in volume 2 because I understand where I was going with this.
Yeah.
But just for the common man that's reading it right now that wanted to change the trajectory of their lives, and wanted to make an adjustment to having a solid foundation, I wrote this so intimately, man, to where I probably wrote this 10 times to make sure the verbiage was right. Because the first time I wrote it, I'm being honest with you, Jen, the first time I wrote it with a lot of anger.
Okay.
Then I came back, I wrote it with a lot of pain. Then I came back and I wrote it with, it wasn't hatred, but it was more,
disgust.
It was disgust, right? But it was more disgust at other people. And then I had to come back and realize that, nah, it's not other people. It never was.
It's projecting.
Yeah. We often want to project.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to face.
Yeah.
Again.
Enemy.
We spell enemy one way, but we understand that it's in of me. INAME. There's no greater enemy than yourself. So after I got done writing all that stuff, and I still have all of them in my safe because I was like, man.
As you should.
Yeah.
As you should. This is probably the quietest they've heard us.
No, for sure. I was just thinking that we ain't asked two questions.
They're like, Travis isn't talking. What's going on? This must be good.
It's game, man. That means it's game. If we shut up, it's game.
I saved them all, man, because I wanted to, if I have more kids or if I give them to my daughter and my grandkids, I wanted them to read it, not from a grandfather or father from an angry standpoint, but it's to show that in the midst of trying to develop something that comes out of you, these are the things that come out of you, right? And there's going to be some pain that's going to come out when you're being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
There's going to be some mental anguish. There's going to be some anxiety. There's going to be some pressure. There's going to be some stress. There's going to be some depression. It's going to come out of you. But I'm not writing it for things to come out of me. They were already gone. I'm writing it to keep anybody else from going through it. And to keep them from going through it, I wrote it so intimately and give them, the titles the way that I did for each chapter, with the quotes that I wrote in them. I put a lot of work into it, man. When I say a lot of work, a lot. I would not take back anything that I've said, anything that I've done to anybody that think that they love me during this journey. I wouldn't take back nothing. And I will tell you why. They may sound harsh. They may sound arrogant. They may sound cocky. This wasn't for flesh.
Yeah.
This was for spirit. Now, if you have a problem with that, you know where to go.
Straight to hell.
But
Oh, man.
I had to write it in such a way because it was to free trapped, caged men to be better fathers, to be better husbands, to be better leaders. And you'll never be able to do that without understanding who the creator is. We were all created
Yeah.
by someone and something. We often look at the someones. We don't look at the something. We look at mom and dad, the someones.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't look at the something because we have a purpose. Your mom and your dads were conduits just to get you here. There were avenues, right? And every man is supposed to find their purpose, and you're supposed to push those two people aside. And in the midst of doing that, you're supposed to find that one or several things as to why you're here. When you find those things, you operate in that thing or those things. And anybody else on the outside must attach themselves to that thing or those things, or they're null and void. Everybody can't live their lives that way. I've made a decision to do that for the rest of my life. So my purpose will never be women or woman again. My purpose won't even be my daughter. My purpose is leaving an inheritance for my children's children. My daughter know what I gave her, so she should automatically understand how to operate in that, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Now she should know that this is a bigger purpose greater than her.
Yeah.
If she respects that, then I leave a legacy and an inheritance for my family for years to come. If she decides to operate outside of that, I'm still going to press on. And I just put it in a trust fund for my children's children.
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody will stop my journey.
Right.
It's been paved already.
You're speaking on something I feel like a lot of people are struggling with. Me personally, it's not so much what I'm going to do for the next generation. It's reconciling what the previous generation has done to me.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's that feeling of we've talked about in the circle how you need to how you need to move when it comes to your parents. You want to respect your parents. You want to be grateful for what they did for you, but there comes a time where you have to separate, and it's not out of malice. It's not because you don't think they have anything else to give to you. It's the feeling of I just have to live my own life. You can still operate within the laws and things that they gave you because they obviously gave you these things to help you maneuver the best that they could,
True.
or the best that you could. But also they have to respect that you are your own individual. They did what they could to raise you, and once you get to a certain point, you have to carve your own path. And they're not always going to agree with that. They're not always going to, unfortunately, respect that. But again, you gotta do your own thing within respect to how you got there so far. I think we said like how you survived to that point. But then once you realize your power, once you realize your purpose, nobody can stop you from moving in that.
I can answer that, but it's going to be in the form of a question. Do you want to continue your life operating with those, saving those, and convincing those that may have caused you some level of pain? Or are you going to switch the directions of your life to make sure that the people below you never pain again?
Right.
And that's definitely
That's the one I want.
That's definitely been a trial, is making sure that no one beyond me has to go through the things I went through.
Right.
Then stop painting. Whatever that may be, stop the pain. Unfortunately, everybody don't understand how to stop the pain, because pain will still keep going.
Yeah.
Everybody pains differently. You have people who may have caused you pain, but they think you caused them pain. They'll move on with their lives and still blame you for the pain they've had. They've been married 3 times, have kids, but you're still their pain. And the world would see that as You were the one that pained them and ignored everything else that they've done between the time. So you have to be wise enough to get past the pain.
Yeah.
And whatever that pain is you have to tell yourself no more pain.
Yeah.
And the number one thing with pain is you try to force yourself to love. You try to force yourself to love pain. You try to force yourself to love through pain. And when pain is pain, pain only want pain. Pain don't want love. Pain don't want correction. Pain don't want healing. Pain wants pain. And this stretches far beyond hurt people.
I was thinking about that.
Pain wants pain. Now pain can ignore pain from everybody else. But they think because you caused them pain, they want you to have pain. And they're actually the person who are living in pain, even though you moved on from your pain. And it also happens in reverse order. You could be the one saddened with pain because you're going through a breakup or a bad relationship. And those people have moved on with their lives. And you're suffering with the pain. And so you choose to have pain. You would choose to go on social media and see them happy with somebody else.
Oh shit.
No, but that's true though.
So much. Yeah.
You'll choose to stalk them.
Yeah.
You'll choose to look up all that
How
stuff.
dare you be happy?
And you know.
Yeah.
You know before you do it, you're like, I don't want to see what I'm about to see.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
you still do it.
Let me tell you something when it comes to pain. I've dealt with so much pain in my life to where when pain is over, pain is over. If there's any ex that moved on, I want them to be happy. They deserve to be happy. Make sense?
It's a sign of growth.
Yeah, they deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
Now, if you think I care enough to go search to see if you'll be happy,
you're
gonna be in pain.
Right.
You're gonna be in pain because I'm not looking. I'm not gonna look for you. And the reason I'm not gonna look for you is not to avoid pain.
Yeah.
It's to preserve my happiness. Because if I really want you to be happiness, I don't need to look for it. I just wish you well. And I would hope that you would do the same. But if you don't, I'm moving on.
I think I've only done that once in my life, where like I was scrolling through Facebook or something and saw an ex and she had a boyfriend. I was like, oh, good for you. But that was, you know what I mean?
I can tell you I've done it way more than once.
Stalker alert.
Right. Book and Danny.
Glutton for punishment is probably what it is. So, I come from a military background. I don't know if I told you, mom, dad, stepdad all did 20 in the Army. So that, for me, really defined who I became. That discipline, that military mentality. I told Edmund, around my house, all the guys you meet, were 6 foot, bald, big like GI Joes. When you walk in, and you move a certain type of way when you're a military family. There's a certain type of thing expected of you. Yes sir, no ma'am is very structured, and but a lot of guys don't experience that. It's very different sometimes in the civilian world from my military friends and families that I had versus the civilian friends and families I had. It was a different dynamic in a lot of ways. So my question was, you were in the Marines, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How long were you in the Marines for?
26 years.
26 years. So that will definitely shape a certain mentality as you move through the world. How would you say being in the Marines, especially for as long as you were and doing what you did, how did that shape your mentality as you move through this world?
This answer may scare a lot of people.
Scare.
Right.
The Marine Corps didn't change me. Ironically, it didn't change me. I was raised under strict rules and regulations. I was raised under strict guidance. They I mean, you had parameters. I mean, it wasn't a military thing, but I had a mentality ever since I was a young guy. And so the Marine Corps was the best fit for me. It's something that I wanted to do ever since I was 4 years old. Most people die never fulfilling, the things that they want to accomplish. I can honestly say that I've done those things. I wanted to be a Marine ever since I was 4 years old. And after going to Paris Island, I think it was like maybe 80s, and it was sometime in the 80s, maybe 84, 85, something like that. and my godmother's nephew graduated, and that image never left my mind. And so when I saw what they stood for, I'm like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And nothing ever changed that. Nothing ever changed it. And so I was a great athlete in high school, played multiple sports, turned down some scholarships, and decided to join the Marine Corps. And I never looked back. I never looked back. I got an opportunity to do what I really wanted to do, which was be a Marine. Um, did 26 years of service.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every minute of it, the good, bad, the ugly. What it does is it teaches you things that you may have been taught when you were younger that really doesn't appear.
Yeah.
I don't see racism the way that the world sees racism.
Right.
Like I don't see religion the way that the world sees religion. I don't see brotherhood the way that racism displays brotherhood.
Right.
I can't see it. I've had to, truly depend on people of different
All kinds.
races and different nationalities. I had to depend on people from different religions. I had to depend on people who didn't believe at all. That doesn't mean that they're horrible people. They just have a different belief system. And what they believe in and what I believe in had nothing to do with the fact that they were willing to save my life and I was willing to save theirs. There's a scripture in the Bible that says a man well traveled knows many things. And so well traveled doesn't mean in your mind. Well traveled means like you got to go roam like a nomad from place to place to place.
Right.
You get an opportunity to meet different cultures, meet different people. When I was born and raised, we never had a chimney, so I was sitting there waiting on Santa Claus to come down the chimney that we didn't have.
Right.
All right. And then my first international experience with a Christmas holiday was 90-degree weather in Hawaii. So I know Saint Nick wasn't coming there. He burned up by now. And so I had to face reality. And facing that degree of reality made me see life from a different angle. And so I understood the concept that came out of the scriptures that said a man well traveled knows many things. You're not stuck in that small box where people who are taught in that same box live in that same box, believe in that same box, operate in that same box, and die in that same box.
Now get boxed up.
You get boxed up. I was able to like really escape the box.
Yeah.
And once I escaped the box, I realized I was free.
Yeah.
There was no going back. And that goes into another scripture that I hold near dear to my heart.
Yeah.
But, when one leaves, he don't bring them back. He keep them for himself. And if people really understood what that really meant, they could be free. They'll be free.
So with that, with the state that, young men are kind of today, it's like I hate to say like a lost generation because I don't want to say that anybody's lost, but challenged in what direction to take.
Led astray
in their life. Led astray in a lot of cases. Do you think that the military would be an avenue that she would suggest to a lot of young guys?
That's a tough one. And the reason why I say that's a tough one is because I'm an honest broker. And we have to understand how the times are changing in this world.
Yeah, definitely.
And because the times are changing in this world, so is everything else around us. And because everything else around us is changing, every entity will make adjustments around the change.
Very true.
But just because you make adjustments around the change doesn't mean that the change is beneficial.
There's been a lot of change in the military lately as well. Yeah.
When we are looking at the younger generation right now, and I'm pretty sure that there are elders who say the exact same thing about us. All right. We're reaching a point right now of no return. And what I mean by that is today's generation, they're smarter, but they're weaker. They will die for the weirdest things, supporting what they don't even believe.
Yeah.
We were stronger, but we were dumber. So we will fight for anything
Yeah.
that we believe. So now we got a generation of fighters that are dying out, and we're breeding a generation that are not afraid to die, that don't know anything. They're smart enough, but they don't.
They don't know
They
what they're dying
don't.
for.
Yeah, they don't know what they're dying for. And so because they don't understand it, they put everybody into a dilemma. And I'm pretty sure we were the same generation that put everybody else into a dilemma, and they put somebody else into a dilemma. And so the cycle never stops.
Yeah.
And so because the cycle never stops, we have to understand, where do we draw a line in the sand as individuals? And so it's not about the cycle not stopping. It's about understanding long term where we're headed.
Yeah.
If you can get in front of it and understand where we're headed, you can protect those of whom you can influence and you're around. When we grew up, we watched television, and there were things that were inappropriate on television. We turned our heads, or the channel was turned off, and we turned the channel. These children now, it's everywhere.
They watch everything.
Yeah.
If you pull up a video game on your phone right now, and you play it, and you don't pay for it, the ad free, they'll send you commercials on sexuality and all this other stuff. So it's poisoning your mind. If you don't have control of it, it will be controlled. And we grow up in a generation, again, that's weaker. So they fall victim to propaganda. They fall victim to anything that they hear. They fall victim to short clips, because most people have a short term
It's even shorter.
span.
It's even shorter. Yeah.
And it's getting shorter. If you can't captivate their attention within less than 30 seconds, they probably won't watch anything. And so we have a generation of people, young and old, who will watch a 17-second clip of what's been said about anybody, and they take that as truth. And they would destroy a person. They would destroy a person on 17 seconds when this person is 90 years old.
Right.
So you telling me 17 seconds is enough to dictate what a person has done at 90? I don't care who you are. If that happened to you, you will be appalled. You will be bothered by it. But we live in a generation that take pleasure in this now.
Cancel culture.
Yeah, we call it cancel culture, but it's destructive.
Yeah.
It's so destructive to where it won't be a culture. And they're feeding into their own demise and don't even understand it. And because we don't understand it, what do we really have in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years? That's a reality most people don't want to face.
That's scary to even think about, man, to be honest.
They don't want to face it. And so understanding yourself as an individual, you have to understand how you used to operate and how you will operate, and understand that those two people can't meet again. They can never meet again. And that's, again, back to the title, Man Must Be Qonquered. They can never meet again. You must conquer yourself within. You know, I have a quote in that book. It's in chapter 7 when it talks about tame that spirit. And it talks about the inner man. And it says the inner man screams for excitement. The inner man receives excitement. Excitement soothes the inner man, and then the inner man forgets himself. We have to understand how powerful and how dangerous that really is. That wasn't just written for people to overlook it. There's a power and a danger to it. There's a blessing and a curse. Because what happens if your excitement is drugs?
Yeah.
What happens if your excitement is women?
Yeah, I was supposed to say.
What happens if your excitement is alcohol?
Yeah.
And in excess of it, to where it soothes you.
One weekend, one moment.
You could lose yourself.
Change your whole life.
When you wake up and remember what you've forgotten, you either love it or you hate it. And so to understand that, we have to understand and switch it. All we have to change is the excitement. That changes the quote. If you change the excitement, you change the quote. So if the inner man screams for excitement, and that excitement is your purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
That excitement is your inner peace. That excitement is building powerful and meaningful relationship. That excitement is your healing. That excitement is trying to find a new avenue for your finances. That excitement is being a better husband. That excitement is being a better father. That excitement is being a better entrepreneur. That excitement is being a better builder in your community. When you forget yourself to do that, you're satisfied with that excitement. But if it's all the other nonsense, when you forget yourself, you'll never find yourself again. And that's what we're embarking on. We're embarking on an unforgiving era. You know, 5, 10, 15 years ago, I mean, we're in 2023 right now, about to embark on 2024. Probably even 5, 6 years ago, we had probably had some forgiveness, you know what I mean, before the internet started doing the thing.
Yeah.
But now the way that it is, there's no forgiveness.
Yeah.
And there's no forgiveness because anybody can poison you.
Yeah.
Anybody can say anything they want to say about anybody and remain anonymous, and the world seems that is okay.
Keyboard warriors.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yep.
That's a risk that we take. And you have to be willing to do that for your purpose.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to deal with the ridicule, the lies, and everything. But you also have to be wise enough to ask, where art thou accusers? I'm not the type of person to just deal with anything.
Right.
Bring my accusers to the forefront. If you call my name, let me call yours.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff will die. Because they really just want to pain you, but want to hide their pain.
Right.
Yeah.
When we understand this stuff as men, because it's so easily pointed at men for everything. Everything, man, is pointed at men. And we miss the basic concepts. And again, I stay away from talking about women in my book, and I will stay away from talking about them in this conversation because it's not about that.
No.
But I would just ask a basic question. How is it that you expect a 19-year-old girl and a 19-year-old boy that call themselves having sex, and they both work at Burger King making $1,000 a month apiece? They made two childish decisions off $1,000 income apiece, right?
Yeah.
Well, if one gets pregnant and the other one doesn't, you call him a deadbeat because he can't keep up with when y'all made $1,000 decision apiece. So we end up forcing young males into manhood, but allowing the other to not be held accountable for their decisions. And so that young 19-year-old will never be able to use the excuse by saying, I was young.
I didn't know no better.
I didn't know any better. And now he's on a life cycle of death. He can never keep up with anybody giving her $5,000-$6,000 a month.
Yep.
There's no way. There's no way he can keep up with that. And the sooner we identify that cycle, we can begin to correct men and the mindsets of men and women and the future of our children. To keep blaming one and honoring another never stops the cycle. And if everybody said that it's about the children, let's look at the children that are products of $2,000 income earning parents.
There's a lot of that going around too.
Absolutely.
And for the man that made that helped make that decision and couldn't keep up with what she was demanding from that point forward, it's emasculating him, because then she looks to somebody else who's a provider, and that guy probably doesn't even care about her the way the man that helped make that baby did. But then he's met with the consequences of, I wasn't good enough for this situation, I won't be good for anything after that. If I can't take care of this, how can I take care of anything?
But what's happening is that they're not emasculating men. They're attempting to emasculate boys. Right. It doesn't fit.
Right.
It doesn't fit. And when I say it doesn't fit, how can you emasculate a boy that don't even know how to be a man? He's practicing.
Right.
It's no different than you can, disrespect a young lady who's pretending to be a woman.
Right.
They're
that's
practicing.
The yeah.
But one will be emasculated for playing the role of, but never elevated and educated on what the role really is. And so now he's already embarked on a path of never getting up. He'll forever be a crawler. He'll be a crawler. And it's going to take men to really mentor and nurture our young men to be responsible for themselves, the more responsible they are, they won't be held accountable and responsible for anything else.
Mm.
And if we correct our own and they correct their own,
Yeah.
we shouldn't have no more blame, should we?
Right.
Is that fair?
Fair.
Right.
So we'll see if it's really fair.
True.
Because everybody don't want fair.
No.
Nobody wants fair.
But we have a bunch of young men who are out here right now that are killing their mothers. And even the fact that the father's not around is still being blamed on fathers. How can you blame a young man that was raised 19 years in a home only with his mother and he killed his mother and blame the father and the father was never around?
Mm.
How can you blame a young girl for killing her mother when the father was never around?
Mm.
You can't. Because let's say the father was dead. We still gonna blame the dad?
Right.
Mm.
Nobody's taking accountability.
We have to take accountability. And so I wrote this book with a discipline. And if you read it in reverse order, my daughter understands the cliches because she know I gave it to her.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a woman watching y'all podcast and she wanted to understand this book, all she would have to do is read my daughter's dedication, read chapter 18, and read the first and second chapter.
That's it.
That's it. You want me to sum it up? It's easy. The final chapter is the seed. Every woman wants to be fertilized by good seed. So she would understand not to let every man enter her. My daughter understands that.
Yeah, right.
And if she's wise about that, then she will want to find a man that understands his purpose, that's a man of God, which is learn your creator, the first chapter. Right?
Yeah.
And so all she'd have to understand is the dedication to my daughter, chapter 18, and then chapter 1. She don't have to read 2 through 17.
Yeah.
That's a man's job.
You something else, brother. It's
a man's job, brother.
Because I read we read the whole book, and I could only understand it from a man's perspective.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this whole weekend we've talked about, and not it being the only subject, but it has been an important subject of how do we deal with women, and it's not dealing with them as in like just like it's how do I nurture, how do I make sure that my relationship with my woman is the best that it can be. But we also talked about what the woman's role is. We talked about survival, and we talked about nurturing the children and everything. But you're right that what they need is less than what we need. You know what I mean? What I'm hearing is we are required to walk a certain way. We have a lot of rules because we need to have that discipline. But women, as far as in my experience, the women in my life have not had any kind of direction as far as like how they're supposed to operate. So then they're going by what society is saying, and society is saying that we ain't shit, we're not gonna be there, we're abusive, or we're not emotionally available, and all these other things. But when I talk to women, sometimes all I hear is the why can't I find a good man and all the stuff that goes with that. But like nobody's taking accountability. But also it's stop worrying about the men that aren't doing what they're supposed to do and just find the one that is.
I'm gonna be careful with this answer, but I'm gonna still be direct. Again, the order is broken.
Yeah.
Women saying that they can't find a good man, the order is broken. It's not for them to find a good man.
Yeah. True.
It's for a man to find a wife. And ironically, we got a lot of boys operating as men.
Right.
Yeah,
just like we got a lot of women pretending to be wives. And so now we got two fools trying to find each other.
Yeah. In the dark.
In the dark. Walking backwards.
Right.
Putting lust and sex first.
Right.
Right.
Man.
And they feel like they gonna screw their way into love.
Right. If I can make it, if I have sex with him, he'll love me.
If I prove that to him, he'll love me.
I've heard
and if I do this to and for her, she'll love me. But in actuality, it's too many mixings. You know what I mean? There's no purity with anybody anymore. And so this person is bringing remnants of the boyfriend. This person is bringing remnants of the old girlfriend, and nobody's taking time for themselves to come together. And so they're bringing all this negative energy back towards each other. Nobody can blame each other, but they really do. They want to.
Yeah.
So you have a woman that says she loves you, but she's deeply in love with somebody else. You have a man that says he loves you, but he's madly in love with somebody else. You have a woman who's attracted to another man's body and everything else, but yet she's attracted to your money. And she wants to play Mr. Potato Head with men. And so do we.
So do we.
You see how I'm being fair?
So do we.
Yeah.
Like,
no, we like to pick parts.
we like her behind. We like her breasts. We like her skin tone.
Yeah.
We like her profession.
Yeah.
We like her demeanor. We like her food. Right? And so we'll sit here and try to pretend and play Mr. Potato Head as well. And they do the exact same thing.
We're just building Franken people.
Yeah.
And nobody's whole
Absolutely.
to begin with.
And nobody's whole. And so what happens in the midst of that, we'll tend to be blamed as the emotionally unattached people when we both are. We both are. Because nobody wants to know the truth. Nobody wants to, girl, why do you want me? I want you for everything. That's a lie. What do you want me for? Be honest. You're the best sex I ever had. Cool.
No,
What do you want me for, girl, lady, woman?
Saturday night.
I want you because you're the best stability I've ever had.
Ooh.
Right? And so you'll provide that stability for her, and you give her the best sex. But what happens if she cheat and finds somebody with better sex? She'll take your stability and run off with somebody else's sex. And don't get it twisted, men do the same.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Men do the same. The only difference is when courts are involved, somebody else wins.
Right.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast right there.
Right. men do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So in return, understanding that is that as a man, when you understand these things and you made these type of errors and mistakes in your life, it is indicative of each one of us as individuals to go back to that drawing board and make a decision to say that I've had enough. I've probably been spared enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Enough is too much.
And I heard the voice. All right. And so let me get out of this and redirect myself. And that redirection was more importantly understanding that it's not what I've done. It's not how I used to live. It's what I choose from this point on. And making that choice begins your newness.
Yeah.
After you begin your newness, you let nobody move you from there. Because if somebody's coming back talking about old stuff, they just want to remind you of pain.
Right.
But did they tell everybody the truth about their pain?
Right.
That they caused?
No.
Did they tell everybody the truth about everything that they went through? Or they just want to use you as blame to be able to move forward in their activities in life? Remove yourself. Trust me, remove yourself from all of it as men. You have to. And the minute you remove yourself and become new, allow nobody to remind you of that old you.
Not even yourself.
Because anybody we deal with don't want to. We all heard it.
Yeah.
Hey man, look, that stuff you said to me yesterday. What was up with that? We all say that's old shit. Why you bringing up old shit? Why you bringing up old shit?
Right.
Well, we understand who the progenitors of that is.
Right.
So we have to be able to move forward with it, man. But again, it's mostly about men understanding exactly who they are, where they're headed, what they want to accomplish in this newness of life, and how they intend to do it. And when they make their intentions known, the universe answers. You cannot attempt, and I said it earlier when I spoke to you guys, man, you cannot attempt to walk in a newness with the old man. That doesn't work.
What's that? You can't put new wine in old wineskins.
You can't do it. Something's got to give. Why? The old man is going to remind you of how good it was to be back there. The inner peace is going to tell you you'll never see me again. You choose to see the old man, and you want to know why you have no peace. But if you tell inner peace, I love you, and if they don't bring peace, they bring destruction. There's no in between. When you tell yourself, if they don't bring peace, they bring destruction, and you still choose destruction, right, shame on you.
Right.
Man, we could go for another like 3 hours, but we definitely want to respect your time, man.
Absolutely.
I
I mean, you got
appreciate
more
it.
questions, I'm fine with it, but it's okay.
Oh man.
What I would say to kind of wrap that up is that one thing that some people forget or they realize kind of as they find their inner peace, it gets a little lonely. It gets a lot of lonely, but you realize you're missing out on the bullshit. You're missing out on the drama. I called some old friends from back home. Love my people. I had them come out to Colorado to spend some time with me. But it was a little bit of a reminder last time I talked to him where it was like there's things that are happening from where I'm from where I don't miss, and it was the reason why I moved. You know, and when you move away from that, you miss your people. You miss being asleep for a little bit, but then when you go back and even if it's just a conversation, it is a good reminder of, oh, that's why I'm not missing nothing. Yeah, you don't get the bullshit with friends about the old TV shows and go to the bar and do all that kind of stuff, the silly stuff that you used to do, and you miss that. You miss that camaraderie. But when you find, like you were saying, when you get around people who are of that same purpose, you kind of get a better quality of conversation. You get more power, you get more knowledge, you get more experience, and you get to shortcut the things that caused you so much pain when you were just bullshit at the bar.
Correct.
You know, and I can't say that it's not something that we talked about. Like you know what I miss about being asleep. It's just the bullshit conversations. Like I can talk about sitcoms and all that stuff, but it's like, what we did for the past not even 72 hours, all we did was feed each other. You know what I'm saying? All we did was pour into each other, and now we all get to go home with, bro. We was kicking it because people when they come to places like this, they just go to have fun. They want to go, rock climb or go check out the nightlife and all that stuff. And it's like we only went to two places while we were here. We went to the park to get some nature and fellowship there, and we talked here. We didn't even turn on the TV till halfway through the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we were too busy appreciating each other.
Absolutely.
You know? And I just, man, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So you give up the bullshit to get that higher understanding.
But again, I have a question for you guys. We spoke about inner peace, right?
Yeah.
So that means we have to look at the inside.
Right.
We would understand that our cavity, the inside of us, is made up of a lot.
True.
Can we add another heart on the inside of us?
No.
Can we add more lungs?
No.
It's the same thing with inner peace. It's inside of you.
Yeah.
You can't add anything extra other than inner peace. Now,
So
if you add more inner peace, the peace is spelled differently. It ain't Peace. It's Piece. You're adding too many pieces. It's two pieces, gentlemen. There's no room. There's no additional room but inner peace. That means somebody else coming to you better bring their damn outer peace. All right?
Right.
Or I'm gonna leave you in pieces.
Right.
'Cause you're not gonna mess with the pieces. Look,
Right.
man, I've done too much work to take all them missing pieces of me and put them back together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm whole now. You can't bring your missing pieces. I don't miss them. I don't miss them.
Last question.
Yeah.
If tomorrow you walked off into eternity and had to take every piece of content, your books, everything you've written with you, and you can only leave one message for the world, for your legacy, for your family, for whoever it is you're directing that message to, what would that be?
If I could just leave one thing, but I had to take my book,
Everything else
Yeah,
went
you're
with you.
taking it.
I have to take it.
Everything else went with you. I mean, you could take one message out of that book,
Mhm.
but everything else goes with you. Like that key to maybe help somebody start on the journey that you're working on with.
It would be attached to my spirit,
Mm.
which I've already shared with those of whom I love.
Mhm.
And it would go back to that inner man speech,
Mm-hmm.
my inner man quote.
Mhm.
Anybody that understands me and understand that,
Yeah.
they understand both sides of the quote.
Mm.
Therein lies that they realize that I never forgot myself again,
Mm.
that I found myself. And my excitement became my purpose.
Mm.
And that if you never learn anything else, you better find your purpose in your excitement.
Mm.
And your excitement must be your purpose.
Man, I
Love you, brother.
I appreciate this one
Thanks
so much,
for
man.
coming to see us.
This, you know,
Appreciate
hey,
it.
no, this was for us.
Right. We hardly spoke the whole time.
You just happened to be here for this.
Yeah.
So, you know, definitely guys, man, check out this book, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Where can they find your book?
Check out this book.
So you can find the book on Amazon. I'm currently working on it to get it into other bookstores.
Mhm.
You know, that wasn't really my aim. I was trying to get it off my chest, so I'm working in reverse order right now.
Mhm.
Making money off the book wasn't even my aim. You know, it was really getting it out. My grandfather's 88.
Yeah.
I had to give him something. No man is promised tomorrow. I could leave here before him.
Yeah.
But based on statistics and his age, I had to give my grandfather a gift back.
Definitely.
I had to for everything. I'm grateful for him. His teachings, his humility, his God, his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding. I'm so grateful for him. And to see the smile on his face, reading a book and seeing himself on the back, he's like ecstatic, man. He's like,
As he
all
should
over the
be.
place. And the family's proud of him, and the family likes to see him light up. So, you know, just to see that smile on their faces, man, it meant a lot to me. So, you know, I'll probably promote all of my other books heavily, and I'll definitely get into promoting that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it was more for me getting that out for timing for him.
Right.
I could have released it a long time ago, but I had to go hard to do something for him and my daughter. It was a timing thing for both of them. My daughter's getting older. She's taking relationships seriously, and I wanted to make sure that the young man that she's dating understand her guard dog. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep.
Not only that, I wanted to make sure that my grandfather understood that I respect his tutelage and that I recognize both of them. So if I could go back to being the receiver of an inheritance and then go back and speak to my seed at the same time, I understand that I'm between what God wants me to do. And so I had to do that.
Definitely.
Well, I'm glad you did, because then people like us get to enjoy that as well.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I know we ain't the last, and when all your books come out, and eventually they put it as a compendium, and it's a 5-piece lovely, like
when it's in our library,
it's a 5-piece dinner, like
when it's in our library, it's sitting on the shelf, you know, up eye level.
Trust me, gentlemen, they're already written.
Hey, there you go. So
they're already written.
Hey, we'll definitely be. This will not be the last one. We'll
Right.
be going over for sure.
For sure.
And we'll definitely be linking all of his social media and different things like that. So you can definitely check him out. He gives, as you see, man, he gives the sauce.
The sauce. The saucier.
Not just the recipe. Not just the recipe, but the sauce.
Right.
So, you know, definitely check him out. You know, check us out on the, you know, YouTube for the podcast. If you want to watch it on video, anywhere podcasts are found, like I say, YouTube,
Spotify,
Apple Music, Amazon Music. Also, all of our social media: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You know, Edmund's OnlyFans. All those.
I
those
told you
places.
that in confidence.
Let me take an opportunity to promote these guys. Don't sleep on their channel. What you don't see is what you probably should see. Don't look at them as individuals. Don't look at them as being what you think should be a messenger. You may want to listen to the message. There's a powerful message behind the Warrior's Way Home. You guys are about to see something different. And it's absolutely imperative that if you've ever been in a place that was uncomfortable and you struggle with getting out of that place, you may want to fasten your seatbelts. And you may want to tune in. I promise you. It's not about them just promoting my book. I have to promote some positive brothers that are moving in a direction that common people could never understand. And because you don't understand it, don't reject it, ignore it, or disagree. Give them time. There's a message, there's a story, there's a power, and there's a promise behind it. And it's meant for a specific audience. What I'd ask is that you respect these brothers. If it's not for you, hold off. We have to start rebuilding and encouraging young men in avenues that are not conducive to what we deem as our tea. But if you listen to them, you understand that their tea tastes good. And it's for them, and it's for people just like them. So if we all embarking on being free and having a new path in life, find people of like-mindedness to follow. I can promise you there are millions of people who are out here just like these brothers. And you should listen to them. You should listen to them. Give constructive criticism. We live in a culture that all they want to do is tear down, but then all of a sudden they want someone to support them. I mean, we live so backwards. All right? If they're not for you, they're just not for you.
Unfortunately, guys, the last part of our interview with Brother Qonquer was lost during filming, but we still want to give a huge shout out and much thanks to our brother Qonquer, author of Man Must Be Qonquered. Much love, brother. Thank you.